the day. When you get an opportunity in this game, you make a play. The playmakers on three. 1, 2, 3.
Touchdown, Kansas City! The Chiefs are right in the thick of it, baby!
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome once again to this edition of Defending the Kingdom. I'm Mitch, Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, along with senior team reporter Matt McMullen. This is our pit stop version of DTK, meaning after 7 weeks of the regular season and 3 preseason weeks, which add up to 10, leaving 10 regular season weeks to go, and who knows, after that, we have pulled the car into the pits. It reminds me, I keep hearkening back to the Hy-Vee had me like MC the IndyCar races back in late July, and how calculated, whether you're a NASCAR fan or a Formula One fan or you're a fan of IndyCar, just the mathematics that are involved in a pit stop, but how important that they are and how scientific they are.
Yeah, well, and that metaphor works for an NFL season too, because when the schedule comes out, we're not just looking at the primetime games and who are the big-time opponents. It's also when is the bye week. And you might not think, why is that important? But it's super important because it's really hard playing 17 football games. And you don't want to play a bunch of games in a row, particularly at the end. So to have the bye in late October, early November, that's always the sweet spot. We've been so lucky in recent years to have that kind of time window for our bye once again happen this year. And to be 5-2, coming off a huge victory over San Francisco going into the bye, couldn't ask for a better situation right now.
So those of you who follow racing, especially long races that require pit stops, you know what we're talking about. This is an important pit stop for the Kansas City Chiefs. A little perspective here. The Chiefs, historically tough schedule. First team in NFL history to play their first 7 games against teams that had winning records the year prior, and 5 of those 7 made the playoffs. Throw in the 8th coming up, but that'll be next week's DTK. That gives you some idea about these first 7 games and the fact, and we've mentioned it before, that they had to play 5 different start times in their first 5 games in 3 different days of the week. And that is something I've never recalled the Chiefs have had to encounter. But all through this, navigating to 5-2 after a statement victory over the San Francisco 49ers. So, our pit stop edition, and you want to hang in there with us on this one because we're going to see where the Chiefs are right now and where they could go. But before we do all of that, there's no pit stop when we go around the world and check in with our Kingdom Defenders.
Yeah, we do not take a break from checking in with all of our Kingdom Defenders around the globe. So we have Justin in Liberty, Missouri, Daniel in Seymour, Missouri, just east of Springfield. Springfield has been a popular place on DTK recently.
Telling you, it's a hotbed. That is a hotbed of the Chiefs Kingdom, Springfield.
Yeah, well, he declared it Chiefs Kingdom South Central. We have a listener in Duncan, Oklahoma, but originally from Sugar Creek, Missouri. A listener in West Oklahoma City. He declared it Chiefs Kingdom in the Heartland.
That's more significant than you think, because that's when you get into the Cowboys battleground.
It's battleground, yeah.
Yeah, it's right there, the blue star and the Chiefs logo coming in there, and Oklahoma City's been a battleground for years.
Yeah, well, they're pushing our boundaries down there. So good work down there. We have Red in southeast Kansas, which I know you're going to love. That's the general area.
Oh, wait a minute, Red. Okay, I remember you from Shawshank Redemption, by the way. I don't know, at least now he's back in southeast Kansas. He was in, place in Mexico. You've narrowed it down. Southeast Kansas could be like 400 communities.
Yeah.
I mean, are we talking Erie here? Are we talking, Kincaid? I mean, there's a billion places that could be.
Yeah,
Uniontown, Fulton. Come on, man, narrow it down.
Yeah, we have to know. So let us know where exactly in southeast Kansas you are listening. We've got Matthew in Springfield, Missouri, Derek in Pico Rivera, California, Jim in Milwaukee, Troy in Shingle House, Pennsylvania, a longtime listener, and Weird Wolf, the keeper of the Wolf Pack, living somewhere beneath GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium, patiently waiting for Sunday Night Football against the Titans.
He made an appearance on the Chiefs Kingdom radio show this week that we had at the Hy-Vee in Lawrence, Kansas, and he was there with Weird Wife. This is rutting season for Weird Wolf, and so it's a big time of the year for him. And you made your debut on Chiefs Kingdom. That was awesome. You in the shop.
Yeah, that was so much fun. Thank you for having me. Just a blast to be out there. After a huge win, I was running on like 2 hours of sleep because we got back from San Francisco at like 1:30 in the morning, then back in the office at 8. But after a huge victory, I don't need to sleep. I always tell people that, and they're like, "You're crazy, man." But the adrenaline was flowing and rolling, and a lot of fun last night at the Chiefs Kingdom show.
And you get to drop the golden hammer, man.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the golden hammer.
All-time bucket list thing. You yelled, "Put the hammer down." I put the physical hammer down. It was great. There's some photos of it. My mom was freaking out. It was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Bonnie McMullen, your son's doing a great job. And so if you want to follow that, you can find it on the Odyssey app. The Chiefs radio network is the largest network in the National Football League. And so, yeah, you can, around the world, check in with us on our Monday night, 6 to 7 Central Time on the Chiefs Kingdom Show. And you, too, can put the hammer down. And plays that are huge.
Yep, I learned that one too.
So, hey, we come in for a game. People have done this. Last week's show, people had come to the home game, and they were here from Maine. Where else? Dallas, Texas, and California, actually. They had come from SoCal, but they were going to be at the game against the 49ers in NoCal. So, Kingdom Defenders, you can come to the Chiefs Kingdom radio show if you'd like. All right, let's get into where the Chiefs are specifically to this point. I've told you what they've navigated here, but it's really kind of impressive, especially when you think of the narratives of, I don't know, ever since like March the 25th, in April, and May, and June. Chiefs aren't going to be as good offensively. They just cannot be as explosive. Matt, you are the master of the Matt stat. When you see what the Chiefs have rolled out here in the first 7 weeks, they're going, oh my goodness, maybe we were wrong, if they'll admit it.
Yeah, they're not just as explosive as they were last year. They're actually more explosive than they were at this point last season. The Chiefs lead the NFL in plays with 20 or more yards this season. They have 37 of them. That's 10 more than they had at this point last year. They have 4 different players with at least 200 receiving yards this season. They're the number 1 scoring offense in the NFL, averaging 31.9 points per game. First in first downs, first in total touchdowns by 7, and they've scored 40 points 3 times this season. I believe it's only happened 9 times where any team has scored 40 points this year. The Chiefs have done it 3 times. It's incredible.
And
what
all
the Chiefs
3
have
on
done
the
offensively.
road, which is crazy.
Yeah. All 3 on the road. And you mentioned it earlier. Think of the teams the Chiefs have done this against. So in 3 of the last 4 weeks, the Chiefs have, at the time, faced either the number 1 or number 2 scoring defense in the NFL. Buffalo, Tampa Bay, and San Francisco. They go 2-1 in those games, average 35 points per game in those matchups. They also faced 2 divisional opponents, being the Chargers and the Raiders, and the Chiefs were ambushed offensively 3 times in this opening stretch where they fell behind by 10 or more points. They won all 3 of those games. So the offense has been fantastic through 7 weeks now, and the exciting thing is I think we all know they haven't reached their limit yet. They're still kind of gelling and getting to know each other. And so far, they're the number 1 scoring offense in the league. So to think about how much better they can get moving forward is very exciting.
The impressive thing, too, 9 different players on those 20-plus plays of 33. Then you look at they had the most 10-plus plays, whether it's a run or a pass. And I know I keep talking about the red zone. We talked about it in the summertime, about how the red zone, if you could improve, how the Chiefs could be to go to maybe 1 or 2 levels higher. And if you compare it to the 2019, 20, and 21 seasons, it's not even close. The Chiefs had 30 red zone trips. That's double the Tennessee Titans, who are number 1 right now in touchdown percentage. But the Chiefs are number 2 in touchdown percentage with 23 red zone touchdowns in 30 trips, while Tennessee, who technically leads that category, has 15 trips. I mean, it's amazing how the Chiefs are better in many circumstances than really the offensively at this point than for sure last year's team, and even in ways the 2019 and 2020 team.
And that was the idea behind this entire offseason plan. It was getting big physical wide receivers like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, JuJu Smith-Schuster, getting Jody Fortson back in the fold after he got hurt last year, and getting more physical at running back as well with guys like Isaiah Pacheco, getting Clyde Edwards-Helaire back healthy. And what we've seen with this Chiefs offense is they're never backing down from any challenge. And they've faced all these good defenses so far this year, and every week it's like, this is the defense that's going to give the Chiefs all these problems. And they go out and score 40 points. And again, they're just getting better. So just really, really pumped up about what this offense has done so far. And again, they're only going to improve as they continue to learn what they're all about.
You and I sometimes snicker about some of these summertime or springtime narratives. There are no games, so all we do is talk, and then we kind of make stuff up. So one of the thesis points, really since Super Bowl 55, has been, the NFL has now figured Patrick Mahomes out. And they thought that, of course, in 2021, where he struggled, 4 red zone turnovers, that led the league, and oh my gosh, look at Patrick Mahomes. We'll get into book to book of where this team was a year ago after 7 games compared to this year's team. But this pit stop Well, let's check in on Patrick Mahomes. Oh, he leads the National Football League in quarterback rating. He leads the National Football League with 20 touchdown passes. But keep it going, man. He's been near the top or at the top of the league in all of those main categories.
Don't forget passing yards. He leads the NFL in passing yards.
Don't leave that out. Nope.
He has the Triple Crown right now through 7 weeks. I get it, the Bills didn't play last week, but still, Patrick Mahomes is having an incredible season so far
But the league's
this
figured
year.
him out, man.
They figured him out, yeah. And couldn't have explosive plays, couldn't, do it with all these new receivers. Well, guess what? This varied approach by the Chiefs offense of having all these different weapons is working. And we're seeing Marquez Valdes-Scantling and JuJu Smith-Schuster really come into their own the last couple weeks. JuJu has back-to-back weeks with 100 receiving yards, which is super exciting. And 8 times this season across the league, 2 teammates have had 100 receiving yards in one game, 8 times. The Chiefs are one of only 2 teams to do that multiple times, and they're the only team to feature multiple combinations of players to achieve that. Travis Kelce and JuJu did it in week 6, and then last week, of course, was Marquez Valdes-Scantling and JuJu. Marquez showing what he can do on those deep routes, the skinny post route near the end of the game. I think it was the play of the entire game where the Chiefs only led by 5 points early in the fourth quarter. It's 3rd and 11. Nick Bosa had just gotten a sack on Patrick Mahomes. No problem. Marquez beats his guy deep down the field. Patrick hits him for 57 yards, and the Chiefs are rolling after that. He also had a big play near the end of the first half that nearly set up a touchdown that got negated by a penalty. And JuJu Smith-Schuster catching the ball with strength, breaking tackles, and doing a bunch of stuff after the catch in back-to-back weeks. These guys are just going to keep getting better and better as the season goes on. This is what we envisioned in March. When people outside of the kingdom were getting their pitchforks out, we were saying this is what this offense can be, and now we're seeing it.
And you and I had a sneak peek of this in the spring and summer. We got
Sure
excited. And Coach Reed told me on Monday night in the Chiefs Kingdom show that the yards after catch, the Chiefs are number 1 in yards after catch. We know Kelsey's a yak monster. But when you add JuJu Smith-Schuster, who can catch an 8 to 10-yard route and turns into a 45-yard gain or a touchdown.
2 weeks in a row.
And what that does now for Kelsey is huge, as we would say on the Chiefs Kingdom show, in the fact that now you have another guy on the other side of the field. And so the junk defenses that the Chiefs have seen, they've seen a lot of junk defenses, much like last year, changes everything. Because defenders are out of position. If all I'm going to do is go over and just jump and dogpile on Kelsey, there's not enough troops over to take care of JuJu Smith-Schuster, who can catch an 8-yard slant and then go for 40-plus yards in a TD against the Bills, who might be out of position because they're playing somewhat of a kind of a weird man-to-man zone combo defense. JuJu Smith-Schuster, his ability to get yards after catch means everything to Travis Kelce.
And I think early in the season, defenses wanted the Chiefs to prove that. Like, all right, we're going to bracket Travis Kelce. Let's see if JuJu Smith-Schuster or Marquez Valdes-Scantling can actually make plays in this offense. And now that they're showing it against all these great defenses, too. It's not like we did this against defenses that are ranking in the bottom half of the league. These are some of the best defenses in the NFL, and they are struggling to contain all of the Chiefs' weapons. And if that's happening now, just imagine what's going to happen in December. So just a very exciting time to see what this offense is doing.
Defensively, the numbers aren't as sparkling, but there are numbers that get your attention. One, the Chiefs have 4 red zone takeaways now after what they did to San Francisco. The league average is 1, and the Chiefs have 4. So this is showing the propensity that they had in 2020 when they did the same thing, or some parts of 2019. But to be tied for 7th in the league in sacks, Chris Jones has been consistent. His Pro Football Focus rating has soared and near the top of all defenders and sometimes all players. I mean, what Chris Jones has done in the opinion of Pro Football Focus graders has been nothing short of spectacular.
This defense, in my opinion, is ahead of schedule. And all offseason long, we talked about how there's a lot of new players, a lot of young players, a lot of potential on this defense. And Steve Spagnuolo's defenses tend to trend upwards as the season goes on, and they kind of mesh and get to know each other. They're ahead of schedule in that regard. And for these comebacks to occur that have happened so far this season for the Chiefs, the Monday Night Football comeback against the Raiders, 17 points down early in the game, that one comes to mind. The Chargers game comes to mind when they were down by 10 points. And last week against San Francisco comes to mind, also down by 10 points. The offense has been awesome in those comebacks, but the defense also has to play their part, and we've seen that repeatedly. A few weeks ago against the Raiders, the defense was on the field when the game was won. They helped finish that game. And also against the 49ers, when the Chiefs were scoring and San Francisco tried getting back into it with all these playmakers, and they were feeling really good, adding Christian McCaffrey. They got Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, all these good players. The defense made plays to make sure the offense had a chance to come back. So hopefully we get a few more of these guys back as well. Guys like Trent McDuffie. Haven't seen him since week 1. Hopefully we see him after the bye. Rashad Fenton and Mike Dana. But some great experience across the board for this young defense. And just like the offense, they're only going to improve as well.
And you can't have comebacks unless you get defensive stops.
Yeah.
It's the Super Bowl 54 story that gets overlooked. But also, when you put in perspective the injuries, the Chiefs' defense, really, of what it wanted to be leaving St. Joseph in training camp, it really hasn't had everybody on the field they thought they would have since the Trent McDuffie injury. And that's like the first quarter of the first game.
And he was great before that happened, too.
And so then you get Willie Gay Jr. back, and you could just see the tempo of the defense with Willie Gay Jr., the missile and play he makes. I get real excited when I think about what this defense can do over the next 10 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's almost a blessing in disguise, though, that guys like Joshua Williams, Jalen Watson, Darius Harris, guys that maybe wouldn't have played as much if it wasn't for these injuries and the suspension for Willie Gay, that they got real-world experience and played well. I mean, how awesome was it seeing Joshua Williams get that interception last week against the 49ers in the red zone at the goal line? Just a huge, huge play, particularly after last week where he did make some good plays against the Bills. It gets overshadowed, but had some tough plays as well against some of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Well, he comes back, doesn't hang his head, and makes an enormous interception at the goal line. Helps the Chiefs win that game and keep momentum on the Chiefs' side. So even if Joshua Williams isn't necessarily starting when Trent McDuffie and Rashad Fenton are back, that experience is going to be critical for him in December or January when at some point his number is called and he goes in there. He's not nervous. He doesn't panic. He knows exactly what he's supposed to do. He's made plays in this league, and he belongs in this league. And that's kind of the blessing in disguise, I think, of these early injuries.
And guess what the other blessing in disguise here, and this is the additional meaning. And by the way, for those of you who are fans of the IndyCar race brought to you by Hy-Vee in Newton, Iowa in late July, and those of you who follow NASCAR at the Kansas Speedway, we are in a pit stop right here. We have just pulled it over. We're getting a 4-tire change, new fuel. In a matter of seconds, they do those pit stops. They're amazing to watch. If you can get behind the pits sometime, it's crazy. But that's where we're at. But now, the other blessing in disguise of what's happened on the defensive end, guess what that will help over the next 10 weeks? Special teams. Now, special teams have been all over the place in these first 7 games. Let's be honest. Field goal kicking. The Chiefs are 9 of 13 at the bottom of the league with 4 misses, 2 of those in that 30 to 39 range from 3 different kickers. But look for that to change, I think, dramatically if Harrison Butker can stay healthy. What has been overlooked here, though, has been the brilliant play of Tommy Townsend. He is first in net punting by far, which is the key stat, and he's second in gross punting. But if you lead the league in net punting, you are a weapon for your team. And I'll say it again. I told him this the other day. I said, dude, I've never seen a punter take a complete possession away from another team, which he did against the Chargers at the end of the second quarter. He punts a 74-yard punt that takes like 10 seconds off the clock because everybody's waiting for it to run clock off. And now you took the Chargers. They had to do a kneel down. They're thinking about going to get a field goal at the least. But Tommy Townsend's a weapon for this team.
Yeah, really awesome to see what he's done this year. You never want to punt, obviously. The offense has failed if you punt. We know that. But it's going to happen sometimes, even with the best offense in the NFL. And you're right. You said it. You want your punter to be a weapon. You don't want him to just be a guy that goes out there and turns possession over to the other team. You want him to be a weapon in the field position game. And Tommy's been that. In his 3rd year as a pro, Tommy's been really good in his first 2 years with the Chiefs, but we thought maybe this could be the year he could really take a big step and put everything together that we've seen. We've seen potential from Tommy numerous times during his career where he has a fantastic game. And I think the idea, he would even say this, is just consistency. Well, it's safe to say he's been consistent this season. He's been consistently brilliant all season long. It seems like he has at least one 60-yard punt a game. So Tommy's been awesome. Only punted once in that San Francisco game, and it wasn't until I think like 2 minutes were left in the fourth quarter. So that's the ideal scenario.
And he was mad about that. It's a 33-yard punt. He goes, I could have had like 10 more net. I could have put it back. He was really
We're up
concerned.
3 touchdowns, Tommy. It's fine. But that's good, though.
That's where he's at.
That's good, and that shows how important that consistency is to him. Hopefully we don't have to punt very often, just like what happened against San Francisco. But it's going to happen sometimes, and when you have to punt, you want a guy like Tommy Townsend doing it for you.
And he leads the league tied with the longest punt with 74 yards. And I mentioned field goals. The longest field goal this year in the NFL is Harrison Butker's 62-yarder. Okay, it's just a matter of being consistent there. But it was enlightening to see Isaiah Pacheco's 48-yard kickoff return to start the half against the 49ers, because we've seen, you and I have seen that potential as well. Saw it even way back in the summertime. You know he's got the propensity to do it. He showed it, well blocked. And that was a giant play because the Chiefs were up just 14-13 at the time. Get a touchdown to take an 8-point lead.
Yeah, what perfect timing, because particularly at the end of the first half, the Chiefs were feeling like they left points on the board, right? Because they had the touchdown that didn't count because of the penalty. Then they missed the field goal. And it's like, man, that was a great opportunity to get some points. This 49er team is really good. Their defense is really good. When you have opportunities, you want to capitalize on it. You want to come out of halftime and score right away, get some momentum back, but that's difficult to do because the 49ers also feel pretty good. They have momentum on their side because you didn't score at the end of the first half. Well, Pacheco, when he breaks off that huge kickoff return, all of a sudden the momentum is back on the Chiefs' sideline. They're rolling. They're feeling good. There was the 15-yard unnecessary roughness penalty as well that helped with that. The Chiefs were operating from like the 35-yard line to begin their drive. Like 3 plays later, they were in the end zone, and they were really off to the races after that. But all offseason long, as soon as Isaiah got here, Coach Tobe was like, I really like this guy as a kickoff returner, and we finally saw why on that one. Really impressive dude. And he said last week that McCole Hardman almost broke one. And just the way that he was watching the blocks and everything, it's the stuff you wouldn't notice on TV, but when he's watching all of his coaches' film, he's like, this almost broke here. And, you know, he had to be smiling after this one that it wasn't the touchdown, but a huge play by Isaiah there at the beginning of the second half.
Only going to get better as well. Punt returning, we know that's a concern. The 2 muff punts deep in enemy territory, which was really costly in the Colts game. The Chiefs get an interception to prevent a score by San Francisco on the other one. But
I'll add, though, you know, that's another example of how the Chiefs have grown, because that happens in the Colts game and ends up leading to a Chiefs loss, right? Because the Colts scored right away. Almost the exact same scenario against San Francisco, and the defense held. They got the ball back. Just a really beautiful example of how this defense has grown in just a matter of a few weeks.
And Joshua Williams had a heck of a play. Okay, so now as we close here in this pit stop, and everybody in the Chiefs Kingdom can take a breath during this bye week, where do we go from here? Well, let's do a book-to-book comparison, because I really think that gives some perspective on the Chiefs' 5-2 start when you look at what the Chiefs were last year. 3-4. They had just lost 27-3 to the Tennessee Titans. At that point, Matt, the Chiefs were, get this, minus 10 in the giveaway takeaway ratio. And 9 interceptions thrown by Patrick Mahomes at the point. Remember all of the tip passes and the passes off shoulder pads, and it was just crazy. The Chiefs a year ago were 3-4. They go on to win 9 of the next 10 games, and we know that they got all the way to the AFC Championship game after a 3-4 start. This accentuates your point where this Chiefs team in 2022, how do we feel at the pit stop? That they're way ahead of schedule.
Yeah, we feel a lot better. I believe we ended up being 6-4 going into the bye last year because it started getting rolling after that Tennessee game. But it was a tough time at this point last year through 7 games. Wasn't what we were used to here in Kansas City. And the thing is, it was a lot of explainable stuff. We knew that wasn't a 3-4 team, and we were preaching that on this very podcast this time last year. All the turnovers are going to stop. I mean, this is an incredibly unlucky stretch of football for the Chiefs. This isn't going to continue, and it didn't. The Chiefs got back on track, ended up hosting a 4th straight AFC title game. But still, it feels a lot better to be 5-2 at this point than 3-4, to be 5-2 and to be dominant in so many games against so many very worthy opponents. And all offseason long, everyone kept pointing to the fact that the Chiefs are facing a team that had a winning record in 2021 in every game until the bye. How are the Chiefs possibly going to go into the bye feeling good? Well, guess what? They're 5-2. They're tied for the best record in the AFC. Bills are on a bye. I guess they're 5-1. But still, the most victories in the AFC. This team is feeling so good on both sides of the football. And like I've said over and over again today, they're only going to get better on both sides. And to be 5-2 going into the bye, take a week off, guys, recharge, get off your feet a little bit, but look forward to the next opponent and be ready for it. This team, I'm just so excited about them and what they can achieve this year. And bring it on. Let's see what happens against Tennessee.
Usual pit stops, whether it's NASCAR, IndyCar, take just a matter of seconds. It's fascinating to watch them. This one's taken a half hour. But the effect is nonetheless the same, and that is excitement. As you get ready, the tire change, full tank of gas, and put this car back on the track for the Kansas City Chiefs. Can the Chiefs go 9-1 in their next 10 games? Can they go 10-0? We'll see. But know this, I'll just end this podcast the way I began the season. At St. Joseph, when we did the Red Rally to start training camp, you can dislike the Chiefs. I mean, you can disrespect the Chiefs. You can disregard the Chiefs. But what the Chiefs have shown these first 7 games in the pit stop, you're going to have to deal with the Chiefs.
10, 5, touchdown! Lock it down! And the celebration begins at Arrowhead.